Hey, what's up? It's another episode of Two Bad Nerds with
Um, I started a little early. I'm Ben.
and I'm Danny. And this is episode 5. We're going to talk about some various topics. We're going to share with you our gaming console history. We're going to talk about some new releases that we're really excited about and we think you should be interested in. And we'll go over some more nerdy topics. So let's start from the beginning here. First, Ben, let's start with you. As far as your gaming console history.
Okay, well, I have it broken down here. I will start with the mobile consoles that I had. I first had Game Boy Color, then Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, and I moved over to the DS series, which is the DS, the original, the DS Lite, the DSi, and then I had a
So
PS.
crazy.
And that's it for the mobile that I had. As far as home consoles that I had, first one would be Atari.
Which Atari?
You know what? I don't even remember which Atari.
2600 or?
I can't even say because technically it wasn't mine. It was my father's. So.
Ah, you call yourself a nerd.
Then I had the Nintendo Entertainment Center, or System. I always say Center. I had Sega Genesis. I also had the expansion to Sega Genesis that added Sega CD on it.
Oh, God.
The old
Yeah.
games that they had for it.
Yeah.
Also had Sega Master System.
Okay.
And I had the one that had like a pre-installed game on it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was.
You remember the pre-installed game?
Freak, I can't remember now.
Yeah,
I don't.
I honestly don't remember the name either, but I remember it was a caveman, and you collected fruit.
Oh, that's right. And I think it actually had, or unless it was a game, I had a Michael Jackson game for that system too.
Yeah, Dreamwalker.
Yeah, that was fun for the time.
Yeah.
I also had TurboGrafx 16.
Nice.
I actually really liked that console. My favorite game for that console was Newtopia. Favorite
Okay.
game.
That was that had Kid Chameleon on it, right?
You're asking a lot from me.
Sorry. I think that one was the one that had Splatterhouse too, the first Splatterhouse.
It probably did. I liked it because it seemed all futuristic. The cartridges were basically like chips. Like they looked like chips, kind of.
Right, right. It was very ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was cool. I also had Nintendo 64. That's my leap. Never had Super Nintendo. And had the GameCube.
Okay.
And then I apologize, PlayStation 1. This is not in order, obviously. And PlayStation 2. I had both the original PlayStation 2 and the Slim.
Okay. Okay.
Those are the ones that I had.
Nice, nice. So no original Game Boy, the green screen one?
You know what? I don't really recall if I ever had that one. I might have been too young to remember if I had that one. I know I played it very, very few times. So if we had it, it was such a short amount of time I can't recall. But from what I remember, I don't have it. I didn't have it.
That was actually that Game Boy was the first time I ever played a Final Fantasy game. Because they came out with a Final Fantasy game for it. And, back when the NES was around, the Final Fantasy that was on the NES, had the battery backup. But if you didn't put the cartridge back in right, and the screen flashed, you know how it would work. It would erase all your saves and stuff. So that happened to me a couple times with the NES version. But with the Game Boy version, it backed up, to the memory of the Game Boy itself. So I was actually able to finish that Final Fantasy.
That's cool. I didn't play, like I said, being that I didn't have much time with it. I didn't play many games and can't really appreciate the games in the Game Boy era. Just didn't appeal to me.
Yeah, most of them weren't very good. No, definitely not. Not compared to what we have now, especially.
Yeah.
So as far as the console I had, obviously I had a lot of the same. Started off with the Atari 2600. We had the Master System for a while. I loved Shinobi on there. That was awesome. And then we got an NES, and then it went to Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. Had the one with the GameCube. Had the GameCube, and then got a Sega Saturn. Loved the Sega Saturn, obviously because of Knights, and I love the sports games. The Madden, the NBA Live were amazing on Sega Saturn. There was definitely, like, Sega's biggest problem was that it was always ahead of its time, but like, it just never had enough support from other game developers to carry the licenses.
Yeah, I didn't have much experience with that either.
Yeah, I mean, Dreamcast was amazing. I had that, and Dreamcast was amazing when it first came out. The first online console. I remember playing, NFL 2K, all the time online. It was free. And it was just, you're playing on a 56K modem, and it was still fun. And it was bad connections most of the time, but it was still fun. But like I said, it was ahead of its time. It had a modem, inside the console, which was crazy. But it just didn't last, probably because it was free, first of all, so they weren't making any money off that. And once people figured out how to, pirate all the games, they didn't make any money. So
yeah, that's true.
But then I had a PlayStation 1, I had a PlayStation 2, and then now I had the Xbox, the original Xbox, and now I have an Xbox 360. But those were the ones I had. Sorry, we're talking about the ones we had.
All good.
So, but yeah, that was the ones I had. So what currently right now do you have?
Okay. In mobile-wise, I have a 3DS. Currently, this month, I'm going to actually have a 3DS XL. So,
what's the difference?
Well, besides the bigger screen, they've made some like cosmetic changes that actually make sense.
Cosmetic changes.
Yeah, they have, but they actually make sense. Like the system right now, basically, if you remember the original, well, PlayStation 3, how it originally came out, it had like that gloss finish that fingerprints like get on there, like it's
yeah,
crazy.
I got you.
To keep it nice looking. This changes that. It adds some kind of like space for when it flips closed so that it doesn't like mess with the screen.
Okay.
We changed the way the 3D slider has like a click that you don't accidentally turn it on and hurt your eyes because you didn't know the 3D was on.
Right. Gotcha.
There's a bunch of other stuff like they don't have a retractable stylus. It's positioned better. The battery life is a little better.
Okay.
So they have done some changes, but basically for people with bigger hands, like many men have, it's a much more comfortable system for you.
Okay.
People complain with the original system that if you're playing for long periods of time for games like Mario Kart 7, your hands are too tight here because you have to use the shoulder buttons and everything here that it actually gives you more of a cramp.
Okay, I gotcha.
You play for too long. So this solves that problem.
Okay. It's still pocket size though?
Yeah, technically it is.
If you have big pockets.
Yeah. I guess you have to say it like that.
Yeah, if you're wearing skinny jeans, it's probably not going to fit, huh?
You shouldn't, well, especially the original. You shouldn't skinny jeans anyway. So that's my mobile console that I currently have and what I will be getting.
Okay.
As far as home consoles, I have the Nintendo Wii. And I have a Sony PS3.
Okay.
I have the Slim PS3. I had the original PS3, and now I have a Slim. And, yeah, that's what I have. So what do you have?
Okay. Well, I only have 3 systems. Say hi, Riley. Riley's joining us. My niece here. But no, I only have 3 systems. I have my iPhone for just my small mobile gaming, Angry Birds and that kind of stuff.
You really considering that a system, though? Really?
It's got so many games. I mean, come on.
That's not a system. It is. That is a mobile phone that you can use for games.
Okay, well, fine, whatever. It's the only mobile device I'm never gonna have that plays games because I don't mobile game. So.
Yeah.
Then I have a Wii. I do have a Wii. I know that's shocking to people because I'm not really a big fan of the motion control. But I have it just
say how recently you got it. That's what you say.
Well, yeah, I did just get it a couple months ago. I only actually got it because I found out you could download the old Super Nintendo games and NES games to it. So I wanted it to be able to play like Link to the Past and Super Metroid and those kind of games. So that was the main reason why I got it. Bye, Riley. And then I have the Xbox 360. That's my console. That's mainly what I do the majority of my gaming on.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's all I have right now.
Cool. So I guess we should say why we have what we have, right?
Okay. Yep.
Well, I love Nintendo. Honestly, more recently as opposed to in the beginning, because I never was good with games in general back in the past. In the original NES times, I never really got good with games probably really until the Wii came out, to be quite honest, as far as Nintendo.
Okay.
Mobile, in the mobile field, I've been okay with those games because I've been playing Pokemon since the Pokemon games first came out. So
Right.
I've gotten good with mobile gaming. So that's why I had basically all the models of the DS and the Game Boys. So that's one thing. But as far as like actual home consoles with Nintendo, never really was good with them until the Wii. And then PlayStation, I picked that up right away because, especially with like Final Fantasy VII when it released, then I started to get into RPGs, and I just like Sony. They impressed me with the PlayStation 2, and I kind of was like brand loyalty at that point. So I kept with what I'm familiar with. So I didn't branch out to Xbox because most of the games eventually were either on both systems, and especially for the ones that are system specific, there was nothing intriguing me to go to Microsoft.
Gotcha.
I already had PlayStation, and I was okay with the games that they have there because I'm not a first-person shooter. I'm not into sports games. Very, very few times I can, but it's not something I look for. So, as we all know, as far as one of the big games for Microsoft and their Xbox, Halo's franchise, that didn't intrigue me enough to be like, oh, I gotta get it.
Right. No, I get that.
I just stuck with what I'm familiar with. And as far as the Nintendo Wii, I can't really say I got it because it's motion controlled. I just got it because it was the new Nintendo. And I happen to enjoy some motion controlling, so I did like that, but it offers a lot more than just motion.
Okay.
I mean, especially with games like Super Mario Galaxy. That's one game that, first of all, looks gorgeous, and it didn't need to have HD to look gorgeous. It didn't need online functionality to be functional and be a great game. But, some titles like that may have gotten overlooked by others who were so worried about the processing power of the internet and the HD graphics as opposed to SD. So I think that they just came out with such a great product that appealed to the household to get like old people, the old timers. I don't want to be rude, but
I got you. Yeah.
And the young folk to actually come together and play something together instead of being so ostracized.
Right. I think that's probably the biggest. I would say that's the biggest success of the Wii is that anyone from a 5-year-old to 80-year-old can play it. Whereas a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox, I don't think you can say that. I don't think they're not made for those ages.
Right, exactly. And they're trying to do that more recently with their additions to motion-controlled gaming.
Right.
Really,
it's still hard, yeah.
It's hard when you're competing against a company who did it from the get-go. You know what I mean?
Well, and the price point, I think, is also a big issue for people, too.
Yes.
If you're who wants to drop $300 on a PlayStation 3 plus whatever other stuff you need to do the move things and all that stuff? I don't know. You know what I mean? That's a big investment for people. Whereas when you have the Nintendo Wii, which is what, like $100 now?
Well, even when it first came out, it was like $250? Something like that. The price point of Nintendo products, they've always had that, that they're not going to be as expensive as the competitors. When Wii came out, it was at a great price point, which also kicked the sales, as opposed to the PlayStation. The PlayStation was like $500.
Right, exactly. And what 80-year-old is going to spend $500 on a gaming console?
Exactly, you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
the price point, the part that it was so easy to pick up and play, and still is, really was a driving point for the Wii, and which is why I got it. I technically ended up getting it twice. I had one moving. I needed, money, and I sold it to my best friend at the time, and then eventually I missed the console so much I had to get it back, so I got it again.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's the best success is you could hand a Wii controller to a 5-year-old or an old person, and within a short amount of time they could be playing that. With any game, on there. It's not. It's very easy. It's very pick up and play. Whereas you hand them a 360 controller or a PS3 controller, and they're just going to look at it like, what do I do with this? Which button do I press?
Exactly. It's a little too intimidating for
Right.
certain people, young or the older crowd. So
Right.
that's why I have my. I mean, a Sony PlayStation 3. I mean, it was great. I mean, how much the processing that it had, the online accounts and everything. I love everything that they do. If they could do better. I'm not just a fanboy that thinks that they're never anything bad.
Right.
They can improve upon points, but they have. They have been. In the beginning, they had their horrible load times or their horrible update.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. But they've improved upon all of that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I love giving them business because I know that the games that I want are definitely going to Sony PlayStation.
Right. I got you.
So
I got you.
that's
I mean, yeah. Remember the PlayStation 2 load times? I mean, some of those were, holy crap.
Yeah.
You'd wait forever.
But people still played that system.
Right.
Had the biggest collection of great games, like for the time, So,
right.
And like I said, I have this brand loyalty to PlayStation, and I'm really interested eventually in getting a PS Vita, even though I know sales are really, really down on that system.
Yeah.
It's just like the PS3. I mean, the PS3 was priced too high, though it offered a lot. I understand, I guess, why they are pricing it the way they're doing it, because there's a lot to offer in it. It's a really powerful system.
Right.
But this economy, no one's going to pay that price.
Yeah, that's a lot for a mobile game.
Yeah, Nintendo learned their lesson, especially for Nintendo. Were shocking in the beginning. The 3DS sales were horrible because people were like, "Why am I paying $250 for a Nintendo handheld system?" They're like,
right.
"This, I'm not doing it."
Right.
So,
when you could buy a PS3 almost for that,
Yeah, exactly. Especially because at the time that releases, all the other home consoles were reduced in price already.
Right.
Like, why get this when I can get this? So, they learned their lesson. They took big cuts, and now they're at a better price point and a better, everything's better for them now because they learned their lesson. So,
gotcha.
I'm hoping that the PS Vita has that chance.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't want it to go by the wayside because I think it has a lot of potential, and I want to see those gorgeous games on there too. I'm interested in seeing really good Final Fantasy titles, Square Enix titles on that system, but they won't get the support if they don't get the sales. So
I think this economy, the problem is going to be people are going to have to choose. Do they want a mobile system or do they want a home system? And I think the home system is going to win out if that's a choice, because what would you rather have? What would you, if you're going to spend almost the same amount of money, you'd rather have it on your 50-inch HD TV versus,
to a point, but I say what actually makes your point more is the fact that what you mentioned earlier, your iPhone. Okay, so
well, right, yeah, that too.
So if someone is doing a lot of gaming on their mobile phone, it's not a console, but their mobile phone, then maybe they're like, well, I'm already doing mobile gaming. Technically, they think in that mindset, which is what you were going with too.
Right.
Using that for mobile gaming, and a lot of companies like Square Enix, I know I'm using them again. They have Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 3. They have those available for your iPhone or for your Android now to Windows Phone. So if people are like, well, I'm already doing that kind of gaming, they may think in that respect, why do I need an actual mobile console?
Right. When you can download the app for Final Fantasy for $5 versus $40 for this this mobile system. Yeah, it's an easy thing. And plus, and let's be honest, like if you're mobile gaming. First of all, the majority of people who mobile game are going to be doing it on the bus, traveling, things like that. I understand some people sit at home and mobile game, which I don't understand because I'd much rather play on TV, but whatever. I mean, that's fine. But if your whole thought process into mobile gaming is to be able to game wherever you go, well, how many of us have that kind of free time? Like how many of us are just in random places where I'm like, oh, let me pull out my gaming system that I just happen to have in my pocket, the whole time, next to my phone,
Well, that could be argued. If you're a gamer, you would game anywhere.
Yeah, I get you. But
something like a 3DS kind of encourages that. I mean, they have their whole that it counts your the pedometer as well. You get incentives for having it with you, like Street Pass and stuff like that. So Nintendo actually kind of figured that
They're
out.
trying to, yeah, they're
Yeah.
trying to do, yeah.
They're like,
They haven't sold me yet on it though. I don't know.
well,
Uh,
maybe the 3DS XL would be a little bit better for you because it's it's bigger and it's gonna make games even look even.
I'd probably actually even be I'd probably be more interested in the PlayStation, honestly,
Yeah.
the Vita over the Nintendo, only because I just like the more mature games. I think
Well,
more than the Nintendo games.
that's true.
And PlayStation has a great, and I've looked at the Vita lineup. I mean, they have some really great looking games. Um, so I think if I was going to go with anything, I would go with Sony,
Yes.
over. But as far as price, now if Nintendo's mobile system is $100 and the PlayStation's is 300, well, that's a pretty big. That might sway me to Nintendo's side.
Yeah, well, the 3DS price point is 199 now, even though it's
Right.
still like it's either 169 or 159, I can't remember. But yeah, so it's still a pretty big price point jumping over to the Vita. And yeah, you
The
brought
Vita,
up a
yeah.
good point there. That's another reason probably people either chose something other than Nintendo because of the mature gaming side. You know what I mean?
Right.
On
Right.
PlayStation, on Xbox, you can get a wide variety. You can get some really crazy stuff that's only for mature audiences.
Right.
Being that you're a mature person, you may want that. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want
Right.
the gore. You want the
Well,
maybe
that's nice of you to call me a mature person. My wife doesn't think so, but that's okay.
you're stop trying to be people. You're not people.
I got you. I got you.
No, but that was a really good point that you made. But I know that Nintendo is working very hard on that, and they are broadening what they allow on their consoles as far as maturity.
Mhm.
Definitely with their new home console that comes out at the end of this year, which I will be getting, whether it's on release day or it's on during the holiday season. I will be getting a Wii U because I am uberly excited for this system. I can't even tell you how much I'm excited for it, but it's already getting backed by developers, by public, these gaming companies. So I'm excited for it. And yeah, that's all I really want to say about that.
All right. Well, let's stick to the consoles we have. We're not going into that. Well, that'll be a whole other show when we talk
Yeah,
about
that
the
could
Wii
be a
U.
whole other show because
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about that. But, so yeah, I have the Wii, the PS3, and the 3DS at this time. So what you
All right.
kind of said it, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just have the Wii just for the Nintendo games and just for the older stuff. I have like 2 Wii games, and I don't even know what they are. I couldn't even tell you right now. And like I said, the 360 is mainly what I'm on. The main reason why I have a 360 over a PS3 is not because I actually care about as far as brand loyalty. Most of the people I play online with are on the 360, so that was easy transition from the Xbox to the 360. To keep my friends list, to keep the people I already had. And the main thing I like about it, I think I know people don't like that you have to pay to play on Microsoft versus PlayStation where they have a free. But I really love the party chats. I love the group parties that you can get into in Microsoft. The connections are just great. I never have any issues. And again, I like the first party titles on Xbox are what really drew me in. PlayStation does have a lot of great first party titles, and I would love to get a PS3, but because I had to make the choice of, okay, well, I can only afford one, and all my friends are playing on the 360, it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to play that. You know what I mean? And that was just, that was why I got it, and like I said, I play everything online. I play, everything multiplayer. I play very little single player campaign type games, except for like a Batman Arkham, Arkham City or like an Assassin's Creed type game. But most of my gaming is done, Halo, Gears of War, like those kind of games online. Plus, I love the Xbox Live Arcade, where developers make $5 games and they'll release them on there and you'll play. And then they've come up with some great games. Limbo was an amazing game. Deadlight just came out.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, Limbo won like all these awards, and it's like you look at it and it's nothing graphically amazing. It's nothing that's gonna blow your mind, but the story and the way the music and the way it was set up was just an incredible horror game.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the fact that there's a lot of different not subscriptions, but like extra things added on. I don't have Netflix, so but when you go on there, you can use the Zune Marketplace and just download a movie if you just want a movie, and I don't have to sign like a subscription to monthly pay for anything, because I don't watch movies I watch movies very rarely. But in case I want to watch just maybe one movie, I can just go on there and watch one without paying a monthly fee. So I like that. I'm trying to think what other things I like on there. And like I said, it was really familiarity. You know, when you go from the Xbox to translate right over, it just made sense. You know, why would you start over with another console where I had to go find another friends list and I had to go find people that like the games I like? You know, just to make sense. I'd love to have a PS3, but I can't afford it, first of all, and it just there's lots of games I would like to play, like the God of War series. I would really like to get into that. That looks awesome. What's the Uncharted series, looks really amazing. But it's not enough for me to be like, okay, I'm going to spend $300 plus the money for the games to add another system.
Yeah.
And I think that's because of the economy. That's the way things are. I mean, I used to have a PS2 and an Xbox, and I used to get games for both depending on what came out, because at the time, things were better and whatever. But now, you can't do that, and I'm sure everybody's making those decisions. So
that's true.
But I don't have any real loyalty to Microsoft. I mean, let's be honest. They don't care what I think. They don't care what you think. Sony doesn't care what we think. They want our money. And people who have the people who have the brainwashed loyalty, like this is the only console I'll ever use or ever touch, that just makes no sense to me, because they don't care about you. You know what I mean? They really don't. I hate to tell you.
That's true. No, I like the points that you brought up too, because I do use PlayStation in that way too. You were talking about the Xbox Arcade or Live Arcade, whatever it's called.
Right.
But PlayStation Network is the equivalent to that, and they have some exclusive PlayStation Network titles that are amazing as well. Like for one of the other brands, Infamous series. That's
okay. Yep.
They have the DLC. Well, it's not DLC. They have a whole other game that's a part of that whole storyline, which is called Festivals of Blood.
Okay. It's a vampire one, right?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Okay.
Loved it. And they have a lot of other things like that. So I have 50-plus downloadable games saved to my PlayStation.
Nice.
And I can just go in and play anytime I want. They could go from casual, like Bejeweled 3, which is a great game, and it looks great in HD. Something like that, or Tetris HD, all those stuff like that. I love having that right there, too. But I also forgot to mention that I actually use my PlayStation for more than that. Another reason I really love my PlayStation is that I do use it for, I have videos on there, sometimes, you can get episodes from a video if you get a torrent or something. Put it right on there and have it there to stream right on my big screen TV. I have music there all the time. A couple days ago, I was blasting some music so I can get into actually cleaning or whatever. You know what I mean? And I have pictures on there. I use it for a lot more than just gaming.
Right.
And really, one reason I love my PlayStation 3, because I don't have to just stick with one thing.
Right. I get you. Yeah.
I can use it for everything. Not that I have to. It's not a computer. I mean, sometimes I actually do go on the web if everything else is kind of taken. They do that too. So I can actually, I'm so used to the PlayStation controller that I can type a web address pretty darn fast with just that controller. So, but I use it for a lot. So I definitely think it's a good system for.
That's the nice thing about consoles these days. They're not one-dimensional. I think that's that if there's one failing of the Wii U, that was the issue, was that it was kind of a lot more one-dimensional versus the PS3 and the Xbox. They could do a lot more. So that to me was one of the things where it's a very big draw for a family if you buy an Xbox or you buy a PS3, because there's a multitude of things you could do, whereas the Wii you were kind of a little more limited.
Right. It didn't have that extra memory. It didn't have a great web browser. It didn't have, you can't use it. You couldn't use it for music. You know what I mean? There's limits to it. Did they add stuff later? They add Netflix app. They have the Hulu Plus and stuff like that. They tried, but it's just because of the console's limits.
Right.
It can never compare to the two.
Right. Right. Definitely. All right. So let's talk about a couple games we're looking forward to coming out. some new releases that aren't out yet. So I don't know if you wanted to start with what you were looking forward to.
All right, not a problem. I will talk first about Final Fantasy Versus 13.
Okay.
This game, now I haven't followed this game's history, but all I know has been like, it was originally talked about like 6 years ago, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then there was this big scare recently that Square Enix canceled this title and they were going to make it a silent cancellation, but then we got confirmation that it's not canceled, that they're going to be doing some kind of talk about it there's something coming up in September, I think, in Japan, and that's going to be definitely on the discussion point. So it looks amazing. If you ever saw the trailers, it looks amazing. It is set in the 13 universe, but it doesn't really have anything to do with 13. You would have to compare that to, like, if you ever played Final Fantasy 12 and then you played Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions. They're in the same universe, so some of the characters may migrate over for some reason or another, but they have really nothing to do with each other.
Right.
They're saying, like, in that case, the comparison, they're set in the world of Ivalice, whereas this one, I can't even think what it's called, but they're set in the world of, I don't even know what it was called in 13.
In 13, oh, yeah. What was that called?
I forget what the world itself was called, but anyway, they're set in the world, whether it's in the past, thousands of years, or in the future, thousands of years. It's set in that universe, that world. So the game looks freaking sweet, so I'm really, really excited for that one. That one, no matter what it comes out for, which is probably going to be multi-platform, I would definitely get it for PS3.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's one.
There's no release date for that or anything like that yet?
No, not yet. Probably in September is when maybe. At least we'll get more information on it. I don't know about the release date. Everybody's been dying for a release date for this. So.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
The next one is for the Nintendo 3DS. It's Animal Crossing. It's called, well, the title right now, we're not sure if it's official. It's been translated to say Animal Crossing Jump Out. It's for the 3DS. Animal Crossing, I know you probably never gotten into.
No.
Animal Crossing is actually a great, great series. It's good for like the casual gamer. You're jumped into this environment where you actually have to work and you have to talk to your neighbors, which are animals that talk in this funky language. It's so really addictive. And this game,
I don't like talking to my neighbors in real life. Why would I want to talk to them in a game?
Well, you do so much. You're collecting furniture. You can customize so much in this game, and it's really fun, honestly. And it's something that we were thinking we're going to get this year, but then we believe they pushed it back to 2013. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, and we're getting just scraps of information every once in a while about this title. But it's looking amazing, and I'm really, really excited for that. I know a lot of people who will be playing online with me in that game. The next title is actually for the Wii U, which comes out this holiday season, and it's Nintendo Land. Now, Nintendo Land really does look like a good title. I've actually had someone who had hands-on experience with it because Nintendo has been going on tour around, and they've been taking the Wii U with them. So one of my buddies actually was telling me his experience that he wasn't really sold on this specific game title, but when he had played it, he realized its draw, which this title basically takes a collection of all these franchises from the Nintendo world and puts them all together in this basically like an amusement park of sorts.
Okay.
You can go into an area that's specific to Metroid. You can go to an area that's specific to Animal Crossing, an area that's specific to Mario.
Okay.
And you go and you play basically mini games that can go from single player to multiplayer using all of the different functionalities of the Wii U. Like one of the things that they were saying, I can't remember what it's called. It's specific type of gaming. How one person sees a totally different view by looking on the Wii U gamepad, and everyone else is using the main screen to go and do something. And he basically has to capture them, stuff like that. That's what it's called, asymmetric gameplay. So they're using this to be like a showcase for what the Wii U can offer.
Okay.
And doing it in such a fun way that it's getting people who maybe are not familiar with all these franchises a way to introduce yourself or become better familiar with them in really fun, innovative ways. So the title just looks amazing, and I'm really excited for it.
Okay, cool. And then you said that comes out right before Christmas, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be this holiday season, so
Okay. Probably, it's a launch title, right?
yes, it's a launch title, absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I have three games I'm looking forward to. The first one is Darksiders 2. That's coming out next Tuesday, the 14th. I don't know if you've ever played the first Darksiders. It was very much. You did?
A demo, and I loved it. I should
Yes.
get. I loved the first game. The demo was amazing. It's only $20, but sometimes $20 is like shoot. I don't have it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth getting. I still have my copy. It's very much Devil May Cry meets Link to the Past. You with the action being very Devil May Cry-ish, but the collecting and the traveling of the worlds is like Link to the Past. You know, you go into a dungeon, you have to collect the one weapon, use that one weapon then to beat the boss. You know how Link to the Past is like that. You know, where you get the bow and arrow, and then that's the bow and arrow you need to use to beat the boss. That kind of thing.
Yeah, like the Zelda series in general. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, exactly. The cornerstone of the Zelda series. The whole weapon in the dungeon thing. It's non-linear, so you can kind of go wherever you want to go. I mean, obviously, you have to go to certain places to beat certain bosses, but you can, traverse the land at any time, where you want. Certain places will be locked. It's again like Zelda, whereas if you don't have the capability to fly yet, well, you won't be able to get to certain places. You can see it,
Gotcha.
but you won't be able to get there.
That
So that's how they limit you. They don't limit you by like, okay, here's an invisible screen that you can't get past. They limit you by your character does not have these abilities, does not have the double jump, does not have the fly, does not have, the fist to break the rocks or something like that. So the first game is based on the Four Horsemen of Apocalypse.
mm-hmm.
The apocalypse comes by accident, and war comes to Earth. He's one of the Four Horsemen, and he gets found guilty of crimes against humanity, and he has to set the rights, and he was basically framed for it, so he has to try to clear his name.
He was stripped of his powers, right?
He was stripped of his powers, right. He has nothing, and so you basically have to gain them back with the powers that he had, and you get to meet some really amazing creatures. One of my favorite comic book artists, Joe Majora, did all the artwork for the game and designed all the character models, which is another reason why I was drawn to it originally.
Oh, okay.
People know him from he did Battle Chasers, the comic. He also did X-Men, and he did Ultimate Avengers. He did a run on there, and he also did a 3-issue run of Avenging Spider-Man just like 6 months ago.
Oh, nice.
So he doesn't do a lot of he doesn't stick with books very long, but so now again, as I said, Darksiders 2, that's coming out next week, is the continuation of the story, because when Darksiders 1 ends, it kind of hangs it to let the next one come.
This one you play as Death, is that correct?
This one you're Death, right. The first one you were War, and this one you're the Horseman Death. Now he's a different character. He's a lot faster. War was very much a brute character.
Right, he has a scythe, right? This guy?
Yeah, he has a scythe, yeah. War had a sword.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know, I've read a lot about the game, but obviously there's not a lot that's been leaked. But it's very much the same as the first one, with the same kind of, you can go wherever you want type deal. The more guys you fight, the more experience you build up. You buy abilities, you buy weapons, very much like Devil May Cry type thing. You find weapons in dungeons, that kind of thing. But it looks awesome. I know it's very much the first Darksiders was a very much underrated game and didn't really get a lot of hype. I don't know how Darksiders 2 is going to do, because
I've heard a lot of traffic on the internet about this game. A lot of people are comparing it a lot to the Zelda franchise. Mm-hmm. So in that case, I think even the developer kind of spoke out about that they're happy about that, but then not happy, because you really don't compare so much to something.
Right.
To stand out and be like, you're different because of this and that. But no, it looks really good, and I know that title specifically is also coming to the Wii U. Mm-hmm. I won't have it to pick it up on release, like if you're going to get it. But it may be a title, depending on what options they bring, that change it a little bit on the Wii U. It might be a title I want to pick up for that system, but it does look really good.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited for it. It's not an easy game. The first Darksiders was very tough.
Yeah.
So, and that was another reason why I was really into it, because if you could beat the bosses in those games, it was very much a test of patience. It's not one of those games that holds your hand. It's not going to point an
Not a hack
arrow.
and slash, right?
Yeah,
Not.
it's a hack and slash, when you're fighting, but as far as solving the puzzles and as far as figuring out how to get through some of the rooms, it's not going to point an arrow and tell you hit this, that. It's very hard. It's very hard, and it's not just me saying that. I've seen other people say the first one was very hard. I don't know if the second one they've made it any easier, and I kind of hope not. I like the difficulty level. It wasn't impossible. When you died, you died because you just didn't do well enough.
Okay.
So,
That's cool.
but yeah, that game looks awesome. So like I said, that's next week. I don't think there's a demo for that. So if you're looking for a demo, I didn't see one. As far as on Xbox, I didn't see one. So there probably isn't. Now, one that did have a demo that both of us played was the new Transformers, Fall of Cybertron, which is coming out on August 21st. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, there was the first Transformers game was Transformers War of Cybertron. Now, this is considered canon by the company who owns Transformers. The story that is written in War of Cybertron is now continuing into the new game, Fall of Cybertron. So I recommend to anyone who hasn't played War of Cybertron, if you're not going to play it, I recommend you play it. Because it's an awesome game and you get all the story and stuff. But if you don't have the time, I understand, because this game's only coming out in 2 weeks. Just at least read the wiki, because this game's, well, War of Cybertron anyway, started off at the very, very beginning of the Autobot War on Cybertron. Okay, so the Autobots don't look like what you're used to seeing. Bumblebee's yellow, yes, and Optimus Prime is red, yes, but they really don't look like their counterparts. Some of the Decepticons are not Decepticons yet, or some of the Autobots are not Autobots yet, and it's very cool to see why some of them chose the size they chose.
Oh, okay.
In the war. So like I said, I definitely recommend anyone checking it out. I'm sure it's like $20 now, probably even less. It's been out for several years. But anyway, the new one comes out. This one's going to continue the story from the very end of the first one. So that's, again, why I recommend at least reading up on it so you know where it's going.
Okay.
They're still not on Earth yet. They're still on Cybertron. This is obvious. That's why it's called the Fall of Cybertron. So if you're looking for the Optimus Prime as the truck with the rig on the back, you're not going to find that here. He does not look like that at all. The first one had an amazing multiplayer. You could pick which Transformer type you wanted to be. You could pick your guns. You could equip different weapons, different defensive capabilities. So this game has a demo, so I recommend anyone to go out there and play it.
The demo is very impressive.
You played it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I played through both of the sides. You get to play as the Autobots, and then you get to play as Decepticons. And I must say that for some reason, I could not get past the Decepticon. I died like it was nobody's business. I still have the demo. I still haven't won there because I was like, freak, I don't know what I'm doing. But it still was cool. Definitely the demo will sell you on the title. I know it sold me. I'm just like, oh, man, I really want this title, but obviously money is where.
Right, I got you. Yeah.
The title itself looks amazing, and who knows? Maybe I will pick up the first one. From what you're saying, as far as how it explains how people turn, the sides. Yeah. That is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's so amazing to be able to hit a button and transform from a robot to a car and a car to a robot at any time in the game. You want to change, you can do it. And that's what makes the multiplayer so fun, too, because you can be a robot blasting and all of a sudden change into a car and take off, and go around a corner and then turn back into a robot and assassinate someone from behind. Like, it's very quick. It's very strategic. There's a lot you can do. It's not like any other, shooter that you're going to find, where you just start off and you're all kind of the same. You're not. Everybody's different. Everybody's got different guns, but they're balanced. And like I said, the story, and if you're any kind of Transformer fan at all, you definitely have to get this game. Like, it's so much fun. Like I said, it's It's a
And the
must. It's a
inclusion
must
of the
play.
Dinobots. I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
can't wait to play as the Dinobots. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, even the main guy, and I can't remember his name, right? That's T-Rex. He wasn't even my favorite. I mean, he was fun.
Grimlock. Yeah.
Grimlock, but I like the other ones, and from what I saw, I think in some pictures or wallpapers or something, I do see it's not just him. I
Right.
believe
It's all of them. Yep.
yeah, and I've always wanted to play as the pterodactyl one. I can't remember what the name is right now, but
Flag.
I always wanted to play as that one. That was one of my favorites of the Dinobots. So that to me is a selling point because I'm like, oh, shoot, the Dinobots are here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the Decepticon level, you play as a helicopter type jet type vehicle. I mean, how cool is that you can just transform, fly around, transform back into a robot, drop down, transform? It's just the things you can do are just awesome.
And I really liked that portion. I mean, like I said, I died a lot, but I did like how he was a helicopter, but then he can actually zoom almost like a jet. So he kind of was like a triple one. You know what I mean? He
Right.
Come to a robot, but then he can do like a jet form and be really fast, but then do the slow, hovering helicopter. It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to change. You don't even have to slow your momentum down. You could be in a jet flying really fast and then transform into a robot, and it'll still carry you. So you can use that momentum strategically, in the game and in multiplayer, to get a drop on players.
Yeah.
So again, that comes out the 21st. So anyone who's a fan of Transformers definitely gotta check that out. And then my last one I want to talk about was Resident Evil 6. Now I know a lot of people are looking forward to this. This comes out October 2nd is the release date for this. I haven't seen a demo. The only demo that I know of is you bought a game. It was I can't remember. There's a game that you would buy, and if you bought the game, it would allow you access to the demo for Resident Evil 6. But that was the only way to get into it. Yeah, so that kind of stinks for us who wanted to play it. But from what I've seen,
yeah, it really does look good. I played 5, and I really like that. But I guess there was controversy with 5, which that they made it too much of an action as opposed to a survival horror. Whatever.
Right.
I guess this game, to my understanding, is supposed to balance the two a little better than what 5 did. So, but it does really look good, and I guess they even just came out saying there's another campaign or something that you play with the other woman, Tara or something long.
Yeah, there's a lot, and then there's also there's individual missions that you're gonna have that you can add that'll be added. They'll be adding more missions on as the game goes to download to play later. So to add more playability to it.
That's cool.
And it's also, if I remember correctly, it's also squad based too because you're not alone.
Oh, okay.
You're playing with other people, not actual live people, but I mean as far as playing with other bots with you that you can kind of control in a Ghost Recon type way.
Okay.
So that'll add a lot more. It'll be very different from previous Resident Evils where you was one person by yourself all the time.
Well, they did with Operation Raccoon City, I think, or something like that. The one that they returned. That was the most recent release.
Right.
I played a little bit of it. I honestly couldn't get into it, but I do know people who loved it. There were some people who actually loved it. Most of the thing was that the artificial intelligence in that game really sucked. So hopefully, if there is, like you said, a partner in this game, that it's not going to be...
It's not going to be terrible, yeah.
That's the whole thing.
That was the problem with 5 did the same thing, you'd have the other girl.
5 wasn't too bad though. I didn't think her
she'd waste ammo a lot.
Why?
Like when you have the Wesker fights, he's invincible. You can only hit him at certain points. She would just stand there, unloading round after round into him, wasting all your bullets because you shared bullets. And then she'd come to you asking for more ammo. It's like, no, I'm not giving you any more ammo. You just wasted all yours.
Well, I didn't play that game on the hardest difficulty. I'll be honest with you. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was still good, but it wasn't as movie. So.
Yeah, I understood what people said about it. It didn't have quite the horror element because it did seem very actiony. It was very bright. There was a lot of levels that were just very you're out in the open in the daylight, and that's very non-Resident Evil like. where
Yeah,
things are.
Resident Evil, you kind of think of tight corners, creepy areas. You're always what's gonna pop out next,
Right.
stuff like that. So I
So,
get
but yeah,
that.
this
I do
looks
like.
amazing. Resident Evil 6 looks amazing. I mean, just the fact that you're going to be going through the city with these different squads and trying to eliminate, control the zombie hordes and areas just really sounds awesome. So I hope it definitely lives up to all the hype that they have for
Yeah, that's a very good.
it.
It looks very good. Hopefully, when it comes out, I'll be able to at least try it. So.
All right. So one of the other topics I want to talk about was what were our favorite. What websites do we frequent a lot? What are our favorites? So if you want to go first with that.
Well, are you saying like for the gaming world?
Yeah, just for the nerdy world. Like, I mean, we don't have to talk about ESPN or anything like that. But I mean, as far as like your nerd news, video games, comics, that kind of stuff. Where do you go for that kind of info?
There's actually three that I go to actually. One of them is IGN. That's for a roundabout news. I know a lot of people at IGN. I subscribe to them on my YouTube channel. I actually use one of their other YouTube channels called Start, and that's part of IGN. So they do like the mixed reviews. I love mixed reviews. If you've never seen it, you really should. It's a better way to kind of get a better grasp of what your game that you're interested in is rating at from not just IGN's point of view, but a whole bunch of other companies.
Okay.
So I really, really like that. So IGN. Then for my PlayStation news, I definitely go to PlayStation Lifestyle.
Okay.
And I think they're really good. I know that today they're supposed to be revamping their website, so they're going to be even better. But whenever I need to know like what's coming out for PlayStation, what's going to be new this week for PlayStation Network, stuff like that, I go to them because I think that they have a really good source there.
Okay.
And then as far as Nintendo news, I'm actually part of this website. I actually am on basically all day, NintendoNerds.com, which is appropriate, nerds. So, but no, it's just that website is so well organized. I happen to be working with the man who created the website. His name is Kevin. He's amazing, and we share a lot of the same like views. How we think a website should operate and how it should function and things like that, which is great. I happen to be a columnist there, so you will see under my username a key 0, you will see my articles there, and I like to post things, not just general Nintendo news that you can find everywhere. I just try to make some points as far as anything related to Nintendo, basically. But the website, I do want to say, is not just related to Nintendo. The forums are for any kind of gaming. If you're interested in, there's places for non-Nintendo related information. So definitely check it out.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, some of my websites that I like to frequent, again, IGN, just because it has pretty much a wide level of information from movies to comic books to video games, movie reviews, any of that kind of stuff is on there. So I think you can get a lot of good information on there. And they do seem to get things pretty early, as far as like updates and things like that. Also, their guides for games are pretty good on there too.
Yeah.
For my comic news, I like to visit a website called Talking Comics. It also has a podcast, Talking Comics. But there's a lot of good reviews, a lot of good opinions, a lot of good write-ups on comics, what's coming out, what's been out, those kind of things. So if you're really looking for a new book to read, or you're looking for what other people are thinking about a book that you may have read, or anything like that, they cover a wide variety of comics, not just the big two, Marvel and DC, but they go into a lot of independent books.
Okay.
So I definitely recommend them, as well as looking for their podcast, their Talking Comics podcast, because they talk about a lot of those things. So if you want to listen to them, that's definitely a great place to go.
Cool.
And then lastly, again, I'm a big iPhone junkie. I'm always on my iPhone. I always have that. So I like to check out the website called iMore, where they talk about a lot of iPhone apps, a lot of iPhone news is coming out. If you want to jailbreak your iPhone, they tell you how to get all the the jailbreaking stuff and how to do it step by step. There's a lot of walkthroughs for those kind of things. Um, a lot of good information, a lot of good reviews on apps, a lot of good help with troubleshooting, with mainly with jailbreaking, because when you jailbreak you're going to have a lot more issues. But there's a lot of good info on not just iPhones, but the mobile market as well. If you go onto the iMore site, they also have tabs for the Android phone, the BlackBerry, and WebOS phones, Microsoft phones. So they don't just cover iPhone, they cover all of the phones. I just happen to go on the iPhone one because that's what I have.
Okay.
But it is a good source for mobile info. I don't know what it's called. The websites are called for the other phones. Obviously, I'm sure they're called something else. But if you go to iMore, you'll see the tabs for the other ones if you want to check them out. So it's definitely what I'd recommend. They let you know about sales on apps. They let you know what apps are good, compared to what apps are not good, and they give you reviews on stuff before you go out and spend the money. And it's an unbiased review because they're not getting anything out of the sale of an app. So
that's true.
So they don't, they're going to tell you what's good and what's not good. So
I think what we should do, definitely, because it might be hard for people to remember these web addresses, is just to Google the description.
Okay.
On YouTube. So that.
Okay.
So.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
In the description, all the websites that we mentioned here. So if you're interested, please just go to more on the description and click on them.
Definitely. All right. And then lastly, what I wanted to talk about was we had every week I get my pull list, and I post my pull list on Google Plus. I post a picture of it every week, so you can see what I'm reading. And if any
pull list that you have.
Yeah, I do have a pretty big pull list. Yeah, I know. But if there's ever you want to ask me about a comic, just check my my site and look at my pull list and see what I'm reading. And if you want to ask me about a book, I'll definitely give you my opinion on the art, the story, and the things that are going on. So last week you happened to see my pull list, and you noticed that I had the new Hawkeye book. I'm going to try to show it here in the video.
Right.
Hawkeye #1 that came out. It's written by Matt Fraction. For you, that might name might not mean a lot, but in comics, he's a pretty well-known writer.
Okay.
He normally writes these very big, episodic type stories.
Okay.
So for him to be on Hawkeye is a big switch, because Hawkeye's, as we all know, a very much like a Batman type character, a loner, doesn't have any powers really, he's just an archer. But this book is very much, it's hard to say it's a superhero book because he never puts on the Hawkeye uniform. He's basically just down at the street level, interacting with people and just dealing with everyday life. He lives in New York. And just to give you a synopsis of the story, I don't want to tell you the story, but he has a landlord who happens to be kicking out the people that live in the building that he lives in.
Okay.
So Hawkeye goes to investigate why this landlord is doing this. Why is he kicking out the tenants? Doesn't sound like the most interesting of comics, when I tell you that, but it's very interesting to read. It's very different from the typical cape and cowl type stuff that most comics are about. So I'm very interested to see where he goes with the story. Obviously, it's just the first issue. We'll see how it continues.
Do you know how many comics are going to be in this series or whatever?
In the run, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they've said exactly how many are going to be in there. It doesn't have a planned. Normally they'll put 1 of 6 or something if there's a planned run. So they don't have that on here.
It's probably up in the air, maybe because they're not sure how it's going to sell.
Right, exactly. I mean, it could, it might only be a couple issues. But again, this is the #1. I recommend people check it out. It's not a big investment to get into. It's a $2.99 book, so it's one of the things that I was not the craziest fan of. However, the art.
Yeah,
if I can show it to you, if I can just give you like a panel or a page here, it's a very simplistic type art.
And you like that over the top.
Like, see if I can show you right here. I don't know how good that is, But if you, it's very much, yeah, it's kind of hard to see. It's very simplistic. It's very, the colors are very plain. They're not blended well, but that's on purpose because that's the style of the inker. So I'm not the biggest fan of the art. I like the more detailed, the more exaggerated type art. But it didn't detract me from the book itself. I'm still going to get number 2. I still think it's good. I wish personally that they would have put someone on that had a little more detail to the book, but that's just a personal opinion, and for some people that won't matter. They might love this kind of art style.
Okay.
So it's not. I'm not saying that the art is bad in any way. It's just not my style.
So the ending of this comic actually does leave you wanting more?
Yes, it does, and it very much it leaves on a kind of mini cliffhanger type, where you know there's gonna be more going on, but he's never gonna deal with Thanos or Galactus or anything crazy like that. He's gonna deal with street thugs, and regular stuff that just we might see on the news type things.
So he's kind of like dealing with like cop situations.
Right.
To anything like a whole big tragedy or some big disaster or calamity.
Right. He's not fighting the Hulk, you know what I mean? He's fighting a landlord in this issue, which, again, like I said, that might not sound very interesting, but it definitely draws you in, and it's definitely something I think is worth checking out, at least for the first issue, and see if it's something you want to get into.
That's cool.
So, all right, well, that was my last topic. I don't know, did you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we pretty much covered a good array today.
Yeah, I wonder what my niece is doing over there. She's been unattended for a little while.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, who knows. So, all right, well, and if we're done then.
Okay, well.
Very good.
Talk to you guys later.
All right. Huzzah!